you're going to go to like this welcome screen that's going to have these little advertisements and things on it. What we need to look for is this button right here that says Create New. So everybody go ahead and click the Create New button. And we're going to go ahead and open a print document. So everyone click Print at the top. And now I need you to find this one that says Letter, because we want to work on a letter size document for this particular project. And then come down to the bottom and click this button that says Create again. So now we're creating a blank letter size document. Okay, so here's how I need you to think about Illustrator. It's a little different than Photoshop. It opens up a big drawing desk, and on that drawing desk is a piece of paper. If you draw on that piece of paper, you're making artwork. If you draw on your desk, you're drawing on your desk. So in Illustrator, sometimes we will draw things and put them on the side because we don't want to see them in the finished artwork. It's almost like references, right? If I'm drawing a horse and I want to look at a photo of a horse, I would keep it on my desk and I would draw from it. But we're going to keep this really simple to start. We're going to start out drawing like little kids. Okay, so we're going to go all the way back to the way that we drew when we were in kindergarten. Okay, and when you were in kindergarten, probably one of the first things you learned how to draw was shapes. And everything had a shape, right? Everything had like a symbolic meaning. So if I asked you to draw a house when you were in kindergarten, you would probably not start doing an architectural rendering in 3D perspective. You would probably draw a box with a door and a doorknob, and you would use basic shapes. First tool we're going to learn about in Illustrator is in the left side of your toolbar, and it is the rectangular shape tool. But we don't want to use a rectangle. What we want to use is a circle. So here's what you do. You come over here. It's the 5th tool down in your toolbar. You're going to hold down your mouse button, and it rolls out into this other screen. We're going to go ahead and select the ellipse tool. Now, to make a circle in Illustrator, you're going to go ahead and just drag a circle. Now, if I drag like this, I can make a really skinny circle. So we're going to hold Shift on the keyboard and drag out a circle. What do you notice happens to this circle? It's a perfect circle. It stays perfect. We're going to hold down Option on the keyboard, and what do you notice happens when you hold Option? The circle starts from the center. What do you think is going to happen if I hold Option and Shift? It's going to drag out from the center and make a perfect circle. I want to go ahead and zoom in on this, and I want you to notice something. My top window here says currently I am zoomed in at 200%. Now I'm going to go crazy zoom here. Ready? Watch my screen. I'm going to go ahead and start moving in. We're at 300%. I'm going to zoom in to about 30,000%. 30,000 times. This is like the microscopic view of the edge of my circle. And I want you guys to notice something. What do you not see? Pixels. We don't see pixels because Illustrator doesn't use pixels. Illustrator uses math. So Illustrator objects are made up of anchor points and lines and math. So you can print an Illustrator drawing as big or as small as you want to, and it will always look good. If I asked you to get a picture online and bring it into Photoshop and blow it up really big, you know how it starts to look bad because the resolution isn't there? Illustrator, you can print this the size of a truck or a building, and it's always going to look perfect and clean. You could also print it as small as a pencil eraser. This is why we want to create t-shirts and logos and things that need to be really clean and perfect. We want to create them in Illustrator. If we're doing photography or we're doing special effects and we're doing things that are glowing or they're on fire, we want to use Photoshop because that is a raster program. This is a vector program. Vector is math, raster is pixels. So we're going to go ahead and change our shape tool from the circle to the square. Go to the rectangle tool. The first one, you could just drag out a rectangle. The second one, you should hold Shift because what does it do? It makes it a perfect square. And if you hold Option and Shift, it will make a perfect square starting from the center. The next thing I want to show you how to do is change the color of them and move them. So the way that we move them and select them is the black arrow tool. In Photoshop, you have one arrow tool called the Move tool. In Illustrator, you have two. We're going to use the black one for right now. We're going to get to the white one in a little bit. So everyone click on your black arrow tool. Go ahead and click on one of your shapes to select it and then move it. You could actually pick up these shapes and move them around. I'm zooming in on it. You see you've got the fill and you've got the stroke. Let's go ahead and select one of our shapes. We're going to double click the fill color and you get the color picker, which you guys are already familiar with. You already know about the color picker. You just go up and down the rainbow and you pick how bright you want the color to be, and then you click OK, and it filled the circle with that color. Now I'm going to go ahead and click a different shape. Double click the fill color and I'm going to choose a different color. I'll make that one pink. And now we have a piece of abstract artwork here where we have all these little different color shapes. If this was a giant painting hanging in a museum, people would come from everywhere to look at it because it's design genius. You find the stroke color, which is right here. That's this button, not the fill, but the stroke. Double click it and then change it from black to a different color. So here we make it pink. This one I'm going to go ahead and change it to a darker green color. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and take my black arrow tool. I'm going to click on an object one time and I can see that the line around it is really thin. Come over on the right side and notice that there is a menu called Properties. Over on the right side of your screen, you should have Layers, Libraries we don't really use, Properties. Now if you look down here where it says Properties, you can see that the fill color currently is yellow, the stroke color is currently red, but the thickness of the stroke is only 1 point. So if you want that thicker, you just notch this up a few clicks. You can make it really thick. Now we're going to get into some more advanced techniques, and I'm going to show you the shortcut for this so that you learn it this way. The shortcut for moving things forward and backward. Hold Command, look for the P. Now to the right of the P, there are two bracket keys. There's the inside bracket and the outside bracket next to the P. If you hold Command and you press on the P next, or the bracket next to the P, look what happens to my shape. I'm sending it back in space. If you hit the other one, it's going to bring it forward. So Command bracket will send it back. Command with the other bracket will bring it forward one at a time. You have to keep going because it might be in front or behind multiple things. What if you want to move it all the way to the front or all the way to the back and you don't want to sit there and go Command bracket, 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 bracket? What you can do is hold Command and hold Shift. Command Shift and then hit the one bracket key. It'll bring it all the way to the front or send it all the way to the back. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to select multiple objects. So if I'm going through here and I go, okay, I got this one and this one and this one with the black arrow tool, I want you to be able to select multiple objects. There are two ways to do that. The first one is you can hold Shift and just go through and click on all of the objects you want to select. Or if I click off of it, you can just do this with the black arrow tool. Watch this move. I'm going to drag along all of the shapes and now they're all selected. So if you start up here and drag an imaginary box around all of them, you've got them all selected. Now if I want to move them, I can move them as a whole chunk. And now here's another tool you can use, the white arrow. So everybody go ahead and find the white arrow tool, which is up here underneath the black one. This is called the direct selection tool. Now it's a little different before you get too carried away. If I click on an object with the white arrow tool, it seems to work much like the black one. I just selected it and I can move it, right? But what I can do with my white arrow tool, I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see this, look up, is I can select an individual anchor point. So a square is made up of 4 points with connecting lines. If I click on one of those squares with my white arrow tool, notice that it's blue and the rest of these are white. If I move this, I can change that shape into anything that I want. So what you can do now is you could actually build shapes by starting with a simple shape and then moving the points, the anchor points around. Now what happens if I do that with a circle? If I do that with a circle, I could change this circle into a jelly bean. Without having to draw a jelly bean, I just made a jelly bean by moving around those points. If I click on one of these anchor points, I can move it, but these things are called handles. If I grab a handle, I could change the angles around. So you can make these organic shapes that are not geometric anymore. So this is no longer a circle. This is sort of like a free-form organic shape that used to be a circle. With the black arrow tool now, black arrow tool, group select. Now you're going to drag in from one of these corners and hold shift. Why are we going to hold shift? So that it doesn't distort the shape. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to make these shapes smaller. Hold shift, make the shape smaller, and then I want you to take them off your piece of paper like we talked about earlier, and I want you to drop them on your desk. I would like you all to draw your kindergarten home. So what does that mean, your kindergarten home? If I asked you to make a painting right now, and we were all in kindergarten, of where you live, I can pretty much guarantee most of them are going to look the same. Make it whatever color house you want to make it. So if this was you were in kindergarten, you would say, well, I wish I lived in a pink house. You're going to drag a rectangle, drop it on your house. Now what am I going to do? You guys help me. What do I need? I need the what tool? The white arrow tool. And now watch what I'm going to do with this house. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to bring this over to here. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to bring it over to here. Just made that rectangle into a triangle. You can make almost any shape imaginable with a circle and a square and the ability to manipulate those shapes. When you made your house, you always put a doorknob in it. There's no child drawings that have a door with no doorknob, because how else would you get in there? Break in, right? I guess it depends on what neighborhood you grew up in, but okay. Be creative. If you want to put bricks on it, you could put bricks on it. If you want to put clouds in the sun and grass and flowers, go for it. You don't have to have an outline. If you come down here, if you click on your outline, you come down here and you click, I don't want an outline. If you click this white box with a red line through it, now you have no stroke. So it's just the sun.
Thanks for watching. There's a little button that they put on the laptop or something, and then they say click it, and then you can never even miss a video.
That's if you subscribe.